So let's now hand over to the multicolored, faceted intermezzo, the alumni panel. And I'm just here, I'm like the Wizard of Oz, I'm behind a curtain, I'm just pressing buttons.
Pay no attention to the man at the podium. Are the mics all working?
I don't even need any light.
Yeah, okay. Oh, we've got some really great four-part harmonies here. So I actually wanted to just start by throwing out a couple random observations that are inspired by the evening. I found it incredibly inspiring and exciting, and I actually feel that the way we understand the word illustration at Parsons really encompasses everything we've seen here. That illustration, that definition has undergone a lot of rethinking and a lot of change, and I would almost reduce it to images created for mass dissemination to communicate. And whether they tell stories or not, whether they are characters that just sort of exist in a sense in their own world with no story behind them. The other thing I must say, and I've heard the word storytelling thrown around so much this evening, narration, the word illustration keeps popping up. I think that even a character that is designed with no backstory, maybe it's as humans that we're simply programmed to find stories where there aren't, but a lot of these characters just seem to carry so much baggage with them. I know who they are, and I feel like I know where they've been, you know, and I know what they did. So it's I feel very comfortable in this world, and I'm very excited to share the stage now with three artists who all studied illustration at Parsons. None of them is what you might think of as a traditional illustrator, but then what we thought of as a traditional area of creative endeavor for an illustrator has really changed. It's not working. It used to be working for magazines, newspapers, and advertising, doing covers and interiors for books. It is those things, certainly, but it's vastly broadened in the last 10 years or so, partly due to the efforts of the people you've seen this evening and the people that we see here on the panel. Each of these people is kind of redefining what I think of as illustration. They're image makers, they're visual storytellers, they use a really wide variety of means to do so, and I'd like to introduce them now. We're going to start with Aaron Stewart. Bachelor number one. Bachelor number one. Aaron Stewart is a virtuoso designer and director of animation. Aaron, yeah, if you could start the images.
We'll start with the film.
Good.
You want to start with the film?
Let's start with the film, and then I'll tell you a little bit about Aaron.
Okay.
It almost says it all, but I'll tell you a little bit more. Aaron was raised in Wichita, Kansas. He came to New York in 1994 to attend Parsons, and he graduated with honors in illustration. He is signed with Hornet Inc., which he shares that distinction with Peter DeSev. He's worked on a lot of films for clients including MTV, VH1, Wendy's, Jack Link's, Pogo Corn Dog. He's spoken at both the 2007 and 2008 Pictoplasma festivals. He was selected as an ADC Young Gun, and he won Best Yodeler in the tri-state area. I didn't fact check that one.
Yeah, well, you know.
Aaron is also the designer and illustrator of Pillow 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 Incorporated, which is a division of Hornet Toys. Pillow 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 is a whimsical line of illustrated dog-shaped pillows, and they're found at Barney's, Target, Kid Robot, and they've been featured on Oprah. Okay, so that's Aaron. Now, I'm going to give you the background on each artist, and we're going to just have a little conversation. Andy? Next. Andy, so Aaron right here, Andy Kehoe. Andy Kehoe lives and works in his hometown of Pittsburgh, PA. He was bred on cartoons and comics from an early age, and his paintings draw from the childlike innocence that recall a time when magic and monsters existed, and all the untold mysteries of the world still seem possible. Shortly after graduating from high school, he explored a number of art schools before settling into the illustration course at Parsons. And he's shown his work at galleries such as Jonathan Levine in New York, ThinkSpace and Black Mariah in Los Angeles, and Copro Nason in Santa Monica, as well as at the Gen Art Vanguard Contemporary Art Fair during Art Basel, Miami in 2008. And Andy is a regular contributor to the acclaimed graphic fiction anthology, Blab. Okay. And last but not least, Motomichi Nakamura. We're going to see a film first of Motomichi's.
I got the slides though, because it's nice while you talk.
You want to do the slides first?
Yeah, while you talk, I show the slides.
And then I'll shut up and you can show the film.
No, and then you tell me to show the film, and then we watch the film.
Got it. Okay, well, Motomichi was born in Tokyo, Japan. I think it's very interesting how far away each of these artists has come to get to New York. His spare use of color, limited to black, white, and red, and his meticulous animation helped create seemingly nightmarish environments. His digital animation work has been exhibited at the New Museum of Contemporary Art in New York, the Moscow Contemporary Art Center, and he's performed as a VJ at MoMA in New York, at the Centraal Museum in Utrecht, and he's participated in film screenings at Sundance 1.0, and most recently the Holland Animation Film Festival. And I think what we're going to see is the trailer for the Holland Film Festival.
Yes.
And that logo, I think, for the film festival was designed by the wonderful Joost Zwarte of Holland, wonderful graphic novelist and designer. Anyway, what I really want to know from you guys is I want to get a sense of the arc that your careers have taken since you left school. How has the field of illustration, as you know it, changed from when you were in school, and how's that affected your work? Any one of you want to start?
Became very digital.
Became very digital.
Yeah. Technology has a lot to do with, especially to me, technology has just made a big influence.
Like internet came out when we were in school.
Yeah, because when I graduated in '96. I remember sending resume by fax and making phone calls and dropping off portfolio, and then just drastically changed. Like after maybe a few years, just that kind of stuff didn't exist. So.
Was the work you were making in school at all digital, or was it all made by hand?
It was transitional time.
But you did animation for your final piece. Remember this? I remember. I just saw it. I was like,
yeah, that was that's digital. Yeah.
Because it was interesting for us. Like these programs like Flash and After Effects came out when we were in school. Like I don't know, like '96 or something. And so it was a moment where we as individuals could actually start moving things around, and we didn't need a group of people, and you could get like good effects, quickly. And so, but there was really no teachers who knew it. And so it was more about us just going into computer lab and just giving this program and learning tutorials and doing it on our own. And so an animation program, I mean, there was one in Parsons, but not really. It was more for traditional hand drawing and stuff. So there was a group of us who were exploring around with After Effects, and we started doing these like little shorts and stuff. And that kind of like started me. And I remember Moto doing a small little piece of animation for his senior thesis. And
I was using director.
You were using director, yeah.
But in any case, Aaron and Motomichi, you almost from the beginning of leaving school were exploring motion.
Yeah.
And now Andy, though the subject matter of your work does not seem traditional, you're using traditional techniques to make your imagery.
I guess pretty traditional painting standards. But when I was in school, people kept mentioning, "Oh, you should show your work in galleries." I was like, "Is that even possible?" I had no idea you can make like a living off of doing this stuff through the fine art world, and I think that really built up over the last few years. I guess some people really exploded on the scene, like Barry McGee and Clayton Brothers, and they opened this whole new world up for illustrators to show their art in galleries. And it's a pretty new phenomenon. I guess I came out at the right time because I got to jump on board a little bit.
And so each of you, when you left school, the day after you got your diploma, what did you think what did you imagine you would be doing?
I was pretty committed to become a graphic designer. So as soon as I graduated from school, since that time the web design was really new, so we used to call it multimedia designer. Like the CD-ROM was dying, we all knew, and then something's gotta come out, and the web came. So, I just jumped in. I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do, just to be honest. So I was doing a lot of graphic design, interface design, all that. So I graduated in '96. I think I was doing that till almost 2000.
Okay.
Just had to go through that transition.
And Aaron, did you have a vision of did you have a goal as a visual artist?
Well, I fell into animation. My first job, I got a job like the day I left at Crank It Out doing animation for a Nickelodeon show called Kablam, and with Mark Merritt. And so that was my first job, and I was just right in doing After Effects animation and stuff. So I knew that this was something, but animation still really, I didn't like, at that time I didn't have the patience to do long forms and stuff, but I was doing it, so I was still trying to figure it out. But I was also, the web was around, so I started on top of that learning like building a website, being able to understand that, put up your own small little movies or images and stuff like that. And so,
were either of you doing print work as illustrators at this point?
No.
Okay.
no one ever called me. So. It's like people called me for animation. No one ever called me for print work. So, yeah.
And Andy?
I thought I'd be working at a bar, just doing art whenever I could. Got some illustration jobs kind of right away through op-ed. I think that's how we got in contact with each other. And I had no idea. I spent a couple years after I graduated just churning out work, just trying to get better at it.
Churning out published work?
No, just painting on my own. Like I had no, I wanted to show in galleries, but I didn't want to do it right away because I feel when I got out of school, like my work is pretty drastically different than it is now. And it was something that I had to like really focus on, just do painting after painting after painting, and start building up a kind of visual language that I was really comfortable with. And then I got to a point where I was pretty comfortable with it, and I started putting my work out a little more.
This idea of developing a visual language, I think each of you has a very, very distinctive vocabulary of imagery. It would be very easy, I think, to pick your work out of a group of work and know that it was your own. Is this something that is this intentional, or is this something that simply develops or that grows organically?
My case, as I said, that my major initially was communication designs. And then I switched my major to illustration because right now there are a lot of mixtures in between, but back then illustration was illustration and then design was design. And I wanted something between. And so I just figured out, so I just do graphic design, then see how it goes, and then I wanted something more, so I switched. And then my intention has always been to simplify, so I just kept simplifying things. And then I'm never really intended to become animator or to animate that much. It's more of the, I wanted to kind of animate the graphical elements just to kind of communicate the feelings. And then I wasn't too committed to motion graphics because moving text and types and images and that just didn't communicate the feelings enough. So I just figured that if you have something that you can kind of visually connect to it, like eyes, mouth, and some kind of figures, and then people can easily kind of pick up. So I just really wanted to kind of simplify, and then it ended up being 3 colors.
So the colors was also part of the simplification
yeah, and also I also wanted to find a way to make animations or graphic elements without using colors, and to me, just 3 colors happen to be just almost like colors, just darkest and strongest and brightest. So just kind of just turned out to be that way.
And red won out as the color. You tried yellow, you tried blue, but
well, actually, red is the strongest. It's just there, in color theory, there are certain things, but just 3 colors happen to be, to me, more than just a color, sort of like symbolic thing to me. So.
Okay. Aaron, in terms of developing a sort of personal vocabulary and
I'm still exploring with that. I feel. I guess it's just like what I can do. It really started with what I was comfortable with. I just wanted to simplify things, simplify my story. I wanted to simplify everything to the bare bone and be able to tell a story and be able to read it as quickly as possible. And so that got me more into like my simple form of telling things. And then I like doing 15 and 30-second spots and stuff. So it just kind of like that just fell together.
so the time frame actually was one of the determining factors in the stories you told.
Sort of, yeah. I mean, I tried different things that were just way too detailed and stuff like that. But when I did things simple, I got more reaction from people. It just seemed like people liked it a lot more, just feel better, and then it kind of just fell into place. And then people started asking me to do that, and then it just kind of fell into it. But now I still kind of tell the story the same way, but then I try to change things up by changing the character, the dynamic of the character, making things small or large, putting texture on things and stuff like that. But visually, I keep the story the same. So for me, I feel like my style is almost more my storytelling than the characters itself.
And did you always do collage at the same time as you were doing line art?
No, I think like every time I get a project, I try to think of it as the project, and I solve what the project needs, and then not like a style of what I'm doing. So if this project comes to play and it just happens that patterns or well, actually, the thing with editorial illustration, it seems like people always ask you to do the same thing. for my case, I was doing a lot of stuff for like VH1 and stuff, and they always ask me something different. They go, we like this is great, but can you give me something else? Can you give me something else? And actually, I've never really been asked to do the same thing. Even on my commercial work, people go, that's great, but it's been done, so can you give us something different? And it's similar, but different. Can you just make the heads bigger, make the eyes different, put patterns on it? So I'm always trying to figure out how I can give them something unique that they can own themselves, but still keep true to myself.
And Andy, you had said that the work you were doing at the beginning was quite different than what we see here, but you've obviously got a kind of a completely realized world that you are depicting.
Yeah.
How did you develop this?
Well, that's more what I'm working on now. Like, when I got out, like, it was very steeped in allegory. Like a two-headed bird meant, like, different sides of the government. And, like, now in my world, if there's two-headed birds, because it has two heads. It's just how it is. There's not much symbolism or anything going on anymore. But a lot of it, too, was building up technique, and every bit of technique I've built up over the years has been a complete mistake, just from doing paintings and being like, oh, that's cool, I'll keep doing that. Yeah, now it's just, I really love this world, and I just really want to build up and put new characters in it, see how they interact, and
Do any of these characters come from, I was very struck by how much of Nathan's work came from his Lithuanian heritage, which I'm not sure I would have immediately known just from looking at the work. Is there some either personal research or research into some culture that you're interested in that has played a part in this, or is this all coming just full-blown from your
yeah, I would say
mind?
nothing directly, but I grew up reading like storybooks, and me and my brother I have a twin brother, we used to sit around and just listen. My mom buys these audiobooks of storybooks, and like just all the imagery that went around in our heads. It's kind of something I want to capture now. I mean, like, just like the mystery, and then you grow up and like there's no mystery anymore. It's kind of boring, and I just want to kind of keep that going, I guess, a little bit.
So part of your job is to inject some of the mystery back.
Yeah, and our boring adult lives.
Can we kind of cast ourselves back a little bit into school days? Did you have any favorite classes?
I like concept class by GBU.
Oh, concept. I don't know if is Guy here tonight. Guy Bu is still teaching in the illustration program.
I just found him on Facebook and I added him the other day.
I did too.
And then, but he said he doesn't.
You want your teacher to see what you're putting on Facebook?
But he said he doesn't remember me. So.
Oh, yeah.
But
Did
he
he
said,
accept you?
yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Well, teachers always have many more students than students have teachers. So. And so, the concepts class. What was it about that class that was significant for you?
He was very, very picky about making sense when you create something, and then you still till now. That's what I told him. Helps me. Just basically, his idea just whatever you draw, you put it on the paper. It just has to make sense, and he would just go into details and ask questions. That was just really good training for me, and I still appreciate.
Great. Aaron, what about you?
Yeah, Guy. I liked him. He's the only C I got, and he was the toughest teacher. But yet I liked him the most because of that. Like I walked in there and he really chopped my concepts down, and he kind of rearranged it and made me feel very little. And you know,
made you feel very little.
Well, yeah, I was just like, man. But it was good. I liked it. I liked because how hard he was, and I really respect that. But I mean, probably it's just like Pasalakwa class, because you just go in there and it's a drawing class and just draw. You know, you just had 2 hours of just drawing. And he was just like old soul of just, you know, just full of energy. And I don't know, it's just like a bunch of people sitting around in circles drawing. And yeah, definitely got a lot from that. But I do think like every teacher somehow had their strengths and weaknesses, and I like to somehow figure that out. Because there's some teachers who were just so nice that if you just felt like, you know, you didn't feel good, you just went in there and they would just be like, oh, come here, sit down, and be like very motherly. And some of them would be very hard. And I don't know, you get some certain ones, I mean, something from each one of them, I thought.
Andy, what about you?
Actually, concepts as well, except with Jordan Issip. He was the one that actually introduced the term visual vocabulary to me and building up your own language. And he would give us assignments like, it'd be about computers. He'd be like, do an illustration about computers without drawing a single computer. So it kind of like brought me out of cliches, I guess, and got my mind out of the box of like what I was normally used to thinking about. And I thought that was really important down the road.
So maybe the thing in the water fountain at Parsons is concepts. It seems to be the...
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's what I got from the illustration department was concepts, picture solving. You know, telling as much as you can in one image.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah, I think a painting too it's just like one big problem solving. It's like, how am I going to bring this to life? And the concepts class definitely helped me like try to like enter each illustration as a problem to solve, and like how am I going to make it interesting and make it relevant to what it's describing as well.
How big are your paintings, Andy?
They range. The biggest I usually go is like 3 feet, 2 feet by 3 feet.
The reason I ask is because, though explicitly there's narrative in Motomichi and Aaron's work because of it unfolds over time, it's sequential. Your work, and partly I think that scale can sometimes have something to do with that it seems like there's a story being told, but in a single image. And I don't know if that's something that's intentional or if I'm just imagining that.
There's definitely a narrative element to it. I mean, I have stories behind a lot of these characters, but it's always interesting to hear other people's stories that they come up. It's like it's just really interesting connection with your audience.
You mean the stories that they read into these?
Yeah, I've gotten some really interesting ones over the years. But
any you can share with us?
No.
It's also interesting that the images, that there was a great kind of, I don't know the pieces that we happen to look at. Mm-hmm. I don't know if they were from a series or if this is your world, but they almost seem like they could have been images in a narrative, and that each one of them is part of a greater whole. Is that, again, just something that I'm reading into this, or do you see that that's there at all?
That's pretty accurate. Like, I kind of see it as like a snapshot into like just a moment in the life of this world. I'm really influenced by photography, so a lot of my stuff is like almost, like a snapshot, just of everyday life in this strange world.
Do you feel like you could achieve what you do with these images here in photography?
Well, part of the brilliance of painting is you could just make up whatever you want, and it doesn't cost you anything extra.
To go back to school again for a moment, are there classes that you wish you took, that you didn't take, that class that you could have chosen? Or is there something that you wish you were taught that we simply weren't teaching you?
I wish I could have taken more drawing class. Then my working sequence would be probably better. The reason for that is that I think I was a little bit too anxious to just produce work, and then I really wanted to just complete work one after the other, and then just that time I was just young, I guess. So the drawing was sort of like, maybe I was a little bit impatient, but I wish I could have done more of the drawing, so that it's more skill. Because it's something like that, I think it's very difficult to do once you graduate. Because drawing, just...
Do you spend time drawing? Do you keep a sketchbook?
Yeah, I do, but my drawings are pretty...
Do you draw from life, or are you drawing ideas, in a sense?
Yeah, that's the thing. I think I draw most of the time from ideas.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Aaron, how about you? Is there some class that would have made all the difference?
Well, I would have liked to always play around with other departments. Going to the photography studio more, or even taking maybe more of a fine art class, or even going to Lane doing more business or something. Just outside of the illustration would have been good. But inside illustration, I was pretty happy with everything. I do always wish that you couldn't, but the computer classes were definitely stronger. But it's always hard to get like, definitely at that time get good teachers, because all the teachers, we were working, and I don't know, it was like a lot of it was just like you just had to teach yourself so much. I felt.
I wasn't there when you guys were at school, but I don't know how much technology actually was even in the department at that point.
They didn't have the big computer lab over here. They had the computer lab only in the main building. Well, that just started, but this like all these applications just started coming out.
I mean, you mentioned that you actually taught yourself
After
a lot of
Effects and
things,
Flash. Taught myself almost. Everything. I did have some really. Good teachers. That's one thing. Good teachers are just good with ideas, and a good designer. Like I had some good computer teachers who were great designers, so that they could critique your work. They might not be able to. Tell you how to use a program, but they could, compositionally tell you what's wrong, what's working, and stuff like that. So, for that was always good. But technically, it's tough. But technology is changing so quickly that it's really hard to keep up with that.
Now, do you keep a sketchbook?
All the time.
And what do you draw from life? Do you?
I draw my kid. And I try to draw all the time. Yeah, definitely.
Andy, same question. What didn't you study that you perhaps would have liked to have, or?
Public speaking class would have been pretty good in this
that would
instance.
You're doing a great job.
No, yeah, that would be I feel like acting or public speaking or like presentation. Yeah.
And is that because you're often in situations where you need to present yourselves, and you wish you had more background in that, or?
Yeah. Well, not normally. Like I spend 90% of the year in my studio, not talking to anyone except for my brother, and then I get in situations like this. It's like, oh Christ. But
you're doing very, very well.
But art openings and stuff, it's like one-on-one. It's like pretty easy. Just shake some hands and take some pictures, and it's good.
And given that your work is largely rendered by hand, I guess. I'm assuming that you draw a lot and that you keep a sketchbook?
Actually, I kind of hate drawing right now.
Oh, okay.
Like my drawings for my paintings are pretty pathetic. It's like just where things are supposed to be. And a lot of it is very organic, how it's like built up. Like I don't plan everything. And good things come out of the spontaneity of that.
So do you begin directly in paint?
No, I always start out with a really basic sketch and then just do some washes and then just jump right in.
What do you guys look at? What do you look at that inspires you or interests you outside of your own work?
Music, movies.
Anything in particular you can?
Well, I like really heavy music stuff like hip hop, but from late '80s, if you know, NWA and that kind of stuff. I like something very raw in general. Having said that, I actually like raw art. It's called outsider art. It's, if you know what it is, it's artwork, art field. It's created by artists who don't have any artistic education. But that's the sort of thing that really inspires me. Just I don't know what it is, but it's just the ideas that they express, or the passion they express in that kind of work is very fresh. So I look at.
And Andy, what about yourself? I mean, well, we'll do Andy and then we'll go to Aaron. Andy, what are you influenced by? What do you like to look at?
I roam the internet a lot, and I find a lot of images off there. But like it's a lot of photography, like this really like kind of raw like Holga, like really like photography that's kind of messed with a lot.
That basic camera that doesn't give you much
it's
opportunity.
It's kind of fuzzy and kind of cool. Movies a lot too really inspire me. Mostly the mood of it, how it like evokes emotions out of me. Like Wong Kar-wai is I'm a really big fan of his. And I don't know, anything really inspires me. I'll go outside and I'll see a tree. I'm like, ooh, that's cool. I'll draw that. And I have based whole paintings off like a cool tree I've seen.
Really?
Since, yeah.
I like the tree thing. Yeah, that's good. It's just inspiration comes from so many different things that it's really hard to say. But I mean, now with the internet and stuff, you get so lost in that. Like I'm doing a research on a chair. Next thing you know, I do Google illustration chair just to see what happens. Next thing you know, there's like all these images pop up, and I just get lost in so many different avenues that it's just really hard to just try to filter that all out. But a lot of blogs, I mean, considering now, like definitely like just a lot of blogs, like say like that keep me very inspired. Like you say, like even like drawn.ca, if you know that. But it's just like that's just one blog. But it's just like, they just every day list an illustrator, something that's going on. And you get totally lost in that. It's just like, you click on them, seeing what they're doing, and then they have, hey, if you like me, check out someone else. And it's
overwhelming.
It's so overwhelming. But it's great. But then it's good to get into that and throw that away. Then, lock yourself up in a place and don't look at anything and just do your own stuff. Yeah. And I'm really lucky. I work at a company, Hornet Inc., and there's a roster of different directors, and they're all doing such amazing work, and it's all different styles and stuff like that. That's really good just to be walking around in the studio to see what other people are doing and getting ideas and seeing their, and their struggles and stuff, and seeing what, same thing, they have stuff on their computer that they're looking at for references, and you see that, you start talking about that, and you can, use that. So it's really good.
I've got one more question. Will we be able to open it to a few questions from the floor? Okay. We've got one last question from me. What is it you tell people you do for a living when they ask you? Motomichi, sure.
I just say artist. And then if they ask, but what do you do? It's like I do a lot of artistic activities. And then I have to explain about, okay, and then I do performance and I make animations. But I used to say digital media artist, but it's kind of starting to sound kind of lame because, everything is digital. So I just say artist and then just explain what I do.
Aaron?
I'd say animation director / animation director, then designer, and then I go into try to just say like image maker, because I don't know. It's just I love doing anything, and it's a challenge is just solving that problem, whatever it is. So
I guess I use the artist label as well, but it's such a broad thing. And the second question is always like, oh, what kind of art? And I say painting, and I always do this. I'm a painter. But now I started using oil paints a couple years ago. Now I say oil painter. It has this whole level of awesomeness to it that people seem pretty impressed with.
Great. Well, I want to thank you all for letting me take you down memory lane, and I'd like to open it up to questions if anyone would like to ask our illustrious panel anything about their work or anything else.
Oh my.
You're a plant.
Have any one of you ever gone back to, not Parsons, but any other school and taught? Like doing teaching?
Guest lecturing?
I taught computer class 2 semesters. And then I've always come back, and saying hello, because I'm in the neighborhood. I work right down there, so and every once in a while I go into a class and give a guest lecture.
Really?
Yeah.
No, not me. Never been invited.
Would you go if you were asked?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. We'll get Gibi to remember you. Yeah.
But I'm like knocking on the doors. I'm kind of like showing my face. Remember me?
I haven't done anything like this ever.
Okay.
You would do it. Yeah. I get a lot of questions on the internet, though. Like, people email me all the time for advice. I'm like, I should just copy and paste, like a big paragraph, maybe.
Is it always the same question that you get asked?
It's usually kids in art school, like asking how I got to where I got, and I don't even know, really. It's like, it's been one fortunate, happening after another, and it's going to be different for anyone or everyone anyways, so.
Anybody else with a question?
Yes.
So I'm graduating about 10 years after you guys, more than 10 years. And I think basically the difference is that I'm paying a lot of money to learn ideas, and I'm graduating with like a carpal tunnel syndrome because I'm always using the mouse, and after using like a horrible mouse, I'm just really worried about my right hand, and that's horrifying for me. And I also don't feel like I have enough like traditional skills because everybody's wrapped up in learning tools because they're developing faster than anyone can like learn. So I was wondering if there's like any advice on how to like go back to that, because like you guys are saying, like I am overwhelmed by the internet. I don't know how to stop, and I wish it'd be like slightly simpler for us. So yeah,
She needs some advice on how to get back to her roots.
I'm just like I don't think I can even draw anymore after just like swinging around the Wacom tablet. They say it's the same, but it's not. So yeah.
Going back, meaning like creative. I mean, I guess I didn't quite.
She needs
Sorry.
help with her carpal tunnel syndrome.
Basically, yeah.
Well, I mean, a Cintiq works really well for that.
Yeah,
There
I mean,
are
I don't
also
know.
I got
very
on
good
that. All right,
bandages
thanks.
we can
You know, but no,
recommend.
I mean, I was just like, definitely the more you get into all this technology and stuff, I mean, it's just the core thing, and you've seen it here, it's just drawing. I mean, it's like, if you, drawing and ideas, if you have that, and it's, I mean, like, he doesn't use a computer, but it's so good, and it has so much stories, and there's no reason why someone couldn't go to him and go, hey, I want to take your world and make it come to life, and use my technology, and he doesn't even need to touch it, you know?
Do you,
I mean, it's
do you
like-
keep a sketchbook?
I don't carry a pen around, sadly. I
Okay,
carry
would
my
say
laptop.
Go out and buy a
and-
pen.
Yeah.
That's like the first thing to do, or a pencil.
This is getting too personal. I'm sorry.
and a lightweight, small sketchbook.
Stretch.
Okay.
Actually, like, if anyone gets carpal tunnel, it's me. I literally spent
yeah, sure.
2 weeks drawing leaves straight, 10 hours a day.
This is a question for Nakamura. Was your earliest piece crime, spelled with the Q.com? I remember seeing that piece. That was you, right?
Yeah, wow, it's amazing, you know. Yeah, okay, yes.
Yeah, I
that's
remember
me.
seeing that and being incredibly inspired by that.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Was that like a thesis project, or
I'm sorry?
was that like a thesis project?
No, that was, I think, 2000. Up to then, I was working as a commercial designer, and then that was the point where I really wanted to make something out of just for myself, and then so it's a personal project, and then that actually was luckily accepted to a lot of film festivals, including Sundance Film Festival, but digital.
Very
but
cool.
So it was just personal thing. Animation was very raw, but that helped me actually a lot to kind of go to the direction that I'm going right now.
It was very inspiring. Great stuff.
Thank you. Yeah. Some people got kind of offended with that piece, and then
was
I
someone
got
else
some
here?
emails saying,
Back
yeah.
there. Right. Okay. How do I do that?
We're all in Parsons now in the illustration program. I was just wondering, what do you think is the most important thing you've taken away from the school, or just Parsons in general?
Can you say that again a little louder?
Oh, sorry.
Oh, now these are students in the illustration department, I think, if I recognize them. And they would like to, hi. They would like to know, what was the most important thing that you took away from school?
Friends?
Good answer.
Yeah, you definitely form very strong relationships with other people. Teachers, too. Like, there's a couple teachers I had during my time here that, like, were worth the price of the tuition.
And you still communicate with them.
Everyone else was...
And you still communicate with teachers after, all these years, and it's great.
Yeah, I mean, friends, yeah, environment. I think that was the first time, I think, for anyone that I got to spend time with people that were committed to the kind of stuff you want to do, so you kind of get to feel what it's like. So I guess that was just introduction, and then, yeah.
I think illustration is problem solving. Solve an idea. Make an idea read quickly. or simply or whatever, getting your ideas, down.
I might have one last question, and then we go on, but that is for you, Steven. Is it for you as a teacher or the chair, so to speak? It would be also to be interesting for me to know: is it inspiring for you, or what inspires you to work with the students, and how much does come back to you?
I have almost always taught illustration before I became the director of the program. So I probably taught for about 30 years. And at a very early stage in my illustration practice in my studio, I would hire as assistants students. And one of the main things, and actually Jordan Issip was one of my studio assistants at one point, he brought the most incredible music into my studio, stuff that I never would have listened to otherwise. So consistently, and the students stayed the same age. It's always a crop of 18 and 19-year-olds, whatever age you are. They always bring something I've never heard, never seen before, never thought about. So to me, that's the most exciting part of it.
Okay.
Was that the answer? Is that it?
Yeah, that was good.
Is that the answer that I was supposed to give?
No.
Wait, I'll...
Maybe one final hand? No. Okay.
Great.
Well then, wow. Thank you very much.